Welcome to the Always Better Than Yesterday podcast. I'm your host, Ryan Hartley. This podcast exists to equip and inspire your heart-centered leadership. Every week, we bring interviews with some of the greatest heart sets and mindsets on the planet. I hope the heartprint of our time spent together is that it creates new possibilities for you and all those you come into contact with. If you'd like to explore what we could make possible for you, then head to abty.co.uk/connect and book in a free 30-minute call to begin our journey together. I just want to express a huge amount of gratitude to our sponsors, Exhale Coffee. I have been a big fan of Exhale Coffee since meeting Alex and the team back in 2022. Exhale is the first coffee to be sourced, roasted and lab tested specifically to maximize its antioxidant and anti-inflammatory potency. An independent lab test has shown that 1 cup of Exhale coffee has the same antioxidant power as 1.8 kilos of blueberries or 55 oranges. I'm a huge fan, and Mrs. H loves the decaf, especially because she knows that Exhale use the mountain water decaffeination process, which uses only pure glacial water from the highest mountain in Mexico and no nasty chemicals. Simply head to exhalecoffee.com/ABTY for your special offer. And lastly, before I introduce this week's guest, please do subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. It would really help us leave a greater heartprint on this world. On episode 268, what an honour it is to welcome Dr. John Gray back to the podcast. Dr. John is the author of the famous book, Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. This conversation is a juicy one. We talk all things about this cultural moment. We talk about Harrison Butker's commencement speech. We talk all things polarity. Men listen closely because John explains how to have more sex in your relationship, how to turn each other on. There's so much goodness in this conversation, all about relationships, all about biohacking your hormones. And we have a serious conversation about the crisis currently facing young men and boys in what's known as the Boy Crisis, a book co-authored with Dr. Warren Farrell. It's an incredible conversation, one I can't wait for you to listen to. It's episode 268 with Dr. John Gray. Dr. John, welcome back to the Always Better Than Yesterday podcast. How are you, brother?
It's a real pleasure to be with you again.
Well, we had a great conversation back in August, and I just feel like, we talked a little about the culture war at the time, and I don't know about you, but I feel like it continues to escalate this moment in time. I don't know if you saw recently, Harrison Butker's commencement speech has just been all through the news. Everybody's trying to cancel him for having these Catholic traditional views, calling his wife's greatest achievement the homemaker. Like,
I loved it.
yeah, I'm just gonna say, what's your views on what he shared and maybe this cultural moment in particular?
I loved it. It was a wonderful presentation. I think we need to honor women as mothers, not just as CEOs. My wife is a businesswoman. It was very interesting. She was did some things in the business world, and she came home really proud. And she says, "Yes, everybody thinks I'm so smart, and so successful." And I felt like, "Yes, honey, I love you so." I went, "Yes, honey, you are so smart and so successful." And she stopped. She says, "John, that does nothing for me from you. I want to know you love me and I'm beautiful and you're happy to be married to me." So it's two sides of us, and I think women who are in touch with their femininity are not getting respect for who they are, what they do. They give so much, and it's so easy to respect somebody who's made millions of dollars, or who went to war and, did some dangerous, difficult thing. And but to respect someone who gave birth to life, who's full of love, who's taking care of you, who's given you birth to your children and nurtures them, women don't get the respect they deserve. And that's partially why there was such a rush to go to their male side when they had the freedom to do so. What's interesting, just in talk about the culture war, in Norway, which is very egalitarian. I mean, it's mandated by the government that every government position has to have equal number of men, equal number of women. It's just over the top. But and this is a big study that was done, and in all of the different professions that are not government controlled, women choose to do feminine jobs and men choose to do masculine jobs. Like construction worker, driver for women, the kindergarten teacher, a teacher in school, the nurse. And, they're interviewing the nurses. It's like, why are you not doctors? And it's just, oh, too much pressure. This is much easier. And why are there no men in here? Well, we prefer just women. But you see that when people actually had the choice, now we come over to evolution. I think evolution culture does evolve. I think that's what we're in the midst of. The culture war is just sort of trying to make sense of this new capacity that we have as human beings. You can look at pictures of like a flight attendant who was 20 years old, and she looks like she's 45 years old. This is back in the say early 60s. In the 60s, a flight attendant, they look like old women and they're just 20 years old. Okay, so we are that another level of consciousness has shifted. And part of that is, it's the new 70. I'm the new 70. I'm in my 70s. I have sex twice a week or 3 times a week, sometimes more. What's going on here? I remember my grandfather when he was old, see guys my age, for me, it's my sexuality, but some men, it's their muscles, they're going to the gym. We're a different being now. And what I look at is an elevation of consciousness. And with that higher consciousness, that's self-awareness, we have the ability to access and express both our male qualities or our female qualities. So when you have the access to do that, and I remember in the 60s, I'm a baby boomer of the 60s, and the Beatles came out and they had longer hair. That was just like a big, huge breakthrough. I saw the Beatles in concert, and all the women were screaming, and everybody was screaming. I was screaming, but the women were all fainting and screaming. And my wife corrected me. She says, "No, John, they were having orgasms." And she was amongst them, so they just didn't know that's what that was. It was orgasmic. And what it was this shift in consciousness where men could be going to their female side. And part of the magic of the Beatles was it was for men, not just that they had those cute little haircuts, but they all were dressed in nice little suits, looking very proper, but they sang in harmony. Okay, this was men in harmony, and at a time where we were shifting, where women had birth control, they could start moving to their masculine side, men could start moving to their female side. So I grew out my hair. I was kicked out of school. I was kicked out of school again for wearing bell-bottom pants. Girls were kicked out of school if they wore pants. So I can say from my own experience, shifting, it was just so exciting for me to get high. That's actually a female quality. Do what I like to do. I remember one of the songs was like a trance song from one of the bands at that time. Do what you like, do what you like, do it. It just went on and on and on. You're high. That was men shifting from do what you have to do. We're men, we have a role to play. You've got to do the dirty jobs, the dangerous jobs. You've got to sacrifice your life. You protect your family. This was all of our values as men. And ironically, those values, when you act them out, produce the male hormone testosterone. And when you make testosterone, you're happier as men. It's not so much happier, but you feel great. Okay, it's a different. Female energy is do what you like. You feel happy. But I feel really good. I feel great. I feel confident. I feel clear. I feel free when I'm on my male side. I'm not depending on anybody or anything, no drug, no alcohol, no woman, nothing. And I can be happy. And how do I find that place of fulfillment? Fulfillment by being of service, selfless service. So in a sense, we set goals on both men and women, but we set goals, and then you have to do things to achieve that goal. That's why so many of the people talk about success and whatever, they say it's important to write down your goals, because once you've written it down, like you plant your flag, okay, now you have to do the stuff. Your brain, it organizes you. That's setting of a goal. Your brain organizes you to motivate you to achieve that goal, and you have to do things to achieve the goal. That feeling of I have to do something raises testosterone. The feeling that I get to do something, I enjoy doing something, I like to do something, that raises female hormones. And when you can have both together, that's what you experience in making love. Okay. The reason why we have sex is, of course, so fantastic, but what's going on biologically in sex is our testosterone are hitting our highest point, but our estrogen is hitting its highest point.
Mm.
So theoretic in the past, people would just get a glimpse of what it means to be both masculine and feminine, yin and yang, the balancing of our wholeness of within ourselves, which is why afterwards men kind of just we're done. we can't maintain that, high level. And we come back to distancing ourselves to rebuild our testosterone. That's actually why men ejaculate. And in my own experience, I've mastered that. I mean, I've been doing this 50 years, but I'm a multi-orgasmic man without ejaculation, which men can learn to do. You need a good teacher, you need discipline, but you can do it because we are addicted to ejaculation. And I'm not saying every man has to do this, but I'll tell you the rewards of it. You can be 70 years old, have sex 2 times a day, all week long if you have time.
Yeah.
You just never stop. It's always there. Your testosterone just stays at its peak level.
Well,
And and and
okay.
and
I guess one of the questions I have on that moment there, then I've got many people that get to a certain age where they just wish they were having more sex. Now they're hearing from someone like you that's saying I can get it up to 2, 3, 4 times a week, right? So
no more than that. I mean, really, just the amount of time.
yeah,
I mean,
right.
I'm doing other things, but you crawl into bed almost every night. We make love. Uh,
Yeah.
why?
What makes
Because
that possible?
what makes that possible is polarity. Okay. And first, let me contrast. In my age group, none of my guys care about having sex. Okay. They don't care about having sex. Nothing's happening in the morning. You see, when your testosterone surges, you want to have sex. Now, maybe you can't have it, so you shift your energy in another direction. But your body says, hey, I'm ready to go for it. That's your erection. Okay. It's there to have sex. All right. And these guys just don't wake up with their erections anymore. And when you don't wake up with an erection anymore, you feel like, hey, I did sex. I had like great time. It's like that's kind of, I guess you could look at it like I don't play children's games anymore.
Yeah.
That's how they kind of look at sex is, but I still play children's games just with my grandchildren. Okay. I still love that. But I'm a teenager when it comes to bed, but a mature teenager who could last a long time. and, but this takes knowledge to learn how to do. Ancient cultures taught it only to the adepts. You had to have a certain level of spiritual consciousness to be able to practice these things. Well, people can learn today. In a sense, we all have access to that consciousness that can access both your male side and your female side. And then you can access then this is how I teach it, which is everybody typically has great sex in the beginning of a relationship. All right. Now, why? There's a lot of attraction there. You need to feel that magnetic attraction. She turns me on, I turn her on. Okay. We'll call that attraction, turning each other on. In the beginning of a relationship, because it's new and sexual, it produces super high levels of dopamine. Cocaine produces super high levels of dopamine. Okay. Very pleasurable. And it intensifies. Now, what it does for a man, the newness of new skin, it will raise the dopamine, then raises his testosterone higher than normal. Okay. And the higher the dopamine, it goes higher. Now, for women, if they feel safe with a man, becoming naked with a man, they feel safe, that newness will raise her estrogen level up twice as high as it normally is. And that's what orgasm is. Orgasm is when both hormones are hitting skyrocket levels. And that the ejaculation is really just a short circuit, so to speak. It's a spasm. Your body cannot handle that much more. It's just so the key to it is learning how to pace yourself and build up the sexual potency. That can take months of building it up, and then the practice is so easy. And then when you ejaculate, you got to build it back up again. It's a whole subject in itself. But I forgot the question.
Well, I think there's something about there's many men in my circle who would benefit from becoming more desirable to their partners, shall we say? And I guess there's because they may have been in relationships a very long time and things might have just fizzled out with kids, and maybe there's less attraction, maybe there's some resentment. How does a man go reshaping himself into being that dominant lead within the home, right? I guess how does that man become more desirable and increase the likelihood and chances of that sex to come back into the bedroom?
Yeah, that sounds. Every man needs to know how to do that, and
Right.
I can begin the conversation for them. I mean, this is a big subject, but we can cover some good points. Okay. I'll call them biohacks. Um, but for anything to work, you have to understand the context of it. So a real quick context is
Right.
women desire men only when their estrogen levels are around twice as high. Now, this has biologically been tested, is that women, when they're younger women, they're ovulating and their estrogen levels naturally will hit if they can get there. Now, 30% of women today can't even get pregnant. Okay, that's because their estrogen levels can't get high enough in order to signal to make a baby. So she needs to be able to have her estrogen go up. And the research pretty consistent is that when the estrogen gets really, really high, then her testosterone will start to rise and she will start wanting to have sex. That's what you want, is you want your wife to want to have sex as much as you want to have sex. And uh, and generally, why, let's look at some statistics to back these things up. It's when men get a divorce, usually it's within 3 years, men are having a partner, and usually they're trying to have sex pretty soon. Okay. And they'll get married within 3 years. Women on average take 9 years and often don't get married again. They don't have this strong urge to I have to have sex. Okay. Now, so that's not in women. It's in women typically. There's always a few exceptions. And when women are in their 40s and 50s complaining, my husband's not interested in sex, they're just complaining. They found another thing to complain about. What they're really, it's not like their vagina is moist and wet and saying, come inside of me. Okay. They're not saying that. It's not like a horny guy saying, my wife won't have sex. He's got an erection, like, help me here. They're just complaining. They're saying what they want is him to feel the way he used to feel when she would reject him so many times. And because that will also wipe out a man's sexual. Let me just point that one out. This is one of my first theories that back a long time ago when I was researching all this stuff, I would interview married men on the airplane, and I flew first class. So this is a certain category of men flying first class, and get them to talk about their sex life. Now, if I just said, how's your sex? They all say, great. Okay. Because in their mind, they're remembering a long time ago when it was great and I'm a stud and everything like that. But once I start saying, what's it like? At first, I start talking about, we have kids, how many kids you have. And then I would just kind of throw in, yeah, it all changes when you have kids, doesn't it? And they kind of go, yeah. All right. So then I started asking a lot of questions. And these are some of my conclusions. In a marriage, there's this men are initiating sex generally. So he's initiating sex, and it's a big yes, a big yes, a big yes. As the dopamine levels come back to normal, it's not a big yes from her. She's just not in the mood. She needs to have that high estrogen, and she's not getting the free dopamine. So now suddenly I've got to do something. I don't have time, or making dinner for our friends who are coming over. You're going to make dinner for our friends, but I want to have sex. It's like they're more important than me. So you get some rejection, and somebody else is more important. And so you wanted it, you got rejected. Then you wanted it and you got rejected. And then you wanted it and you got rejected. And after that, something changes. You don't freely initiate sex the way you used to. See, it's just, I just, in bed, I can just lean over and give my wife a hug, and she melts into my arms, and it's a big yes. And it's only a big yes because I keep her estrogen levels very high, because then she can feel her desire very quickly. She won't feel it right away. She just wants to cuddle and feel close. And then I just get a little closer, and very quickly her testosterone levels will start to rise because her estrogen's so high. So that's the idea, is that that's why we have foreplay. A lot of men didn't take the time to do the foreplay necessary. And sometimes women say, I don't care about foreplay. That's because they don't care about sex. Okay. They're just, some women, they don't tell their husbands, they don't even feel anything when the penis goes in the vagina. This got to be circulation down there. And then part of that is the only time they've been with their vibrators, and they primarily just stimulate the clitoris. And if this clitoris is your primary stimulation for orgasm, the vagina closes down. Okay. It's not pleasurable. It's not as pleasurable as it could be. It's not orgasmic. Half the women in America have never had 3/4 of the women in America have never had a vaginal orgasm. And so it was called like a myth until women started talking up, said, I'm having them, but I know how to have sex. Women aren't taught how to have sex. And part of that is it's so easy for a woman to have a climax stimulating her clitoris.
Mm.
And of course, many men don't even stimulate the clitoris enough. And but she needs just enough clitoral stimulation to awaken the vagina. And if you just focus on just clitoral stimulation, then she loses the sexual potency of the vagina. Now, this concept is based on Taoism. When I studied in China 10 years, and what they talk about, and you can see these single women who are like really overweight, like just big, they're masturbating all the time.
Mm.
That's what they say in China, is that if women masturbate, what happens is they're overstimulating the clitoris,
Mm.
which connects to the kidneys. The vagina, different levels of the vagina connect to the liver and to the lungs and to the heart and to these different parts of the body. It all needs to be massaged equally. So if you just do clitoris, what you're going to get is overstimulation of the kidneys, which causes the kidneys to hold on to water and
Wow.
causes women to gain all this weight. So you
Wow.
can see in the lesbian community, they gain this huge amount of weight around their bodies. It's not the food, it's the clitoris. That they need a
Wow.
penis in the vagina if you want to stimulate those points. And you can put something in there, but nothing close to actually having a man's energy, which is the penis, massaging inside of her vagina. And uh, so the whole idea here is, long before you put the penis in, you need to make sure that there's been kissing. Kissing is very, very important. A lot of wiggling around and cuddling about and pushing bodies. Body will naturally start, the joints get release of fluid and you want to move around and everything. That all has to happen. Then massaging around the nipples until the nipples rise on their own. And then sucking on the nipples is one of the most important things, because sucking on nipples produces oxytocin. Oxytocin is the hormone. When a baby sucks on the nipples, it causes the milk to drop. Okay, so are a big part of the milk process, and it causes the nipples to, when the oxytocin is increasing, they will start to contract and rise up, and that hormone is so important for her to be able to produce estrogen.
Mm.
So oxytocin produces safety. When a woman feels safe, then she can feel surrender, that I can depend on you to guide me, to lead me. And that's what he's talking about. I'm the leader of the family, but I respect my wife. Every woman will surrender to a man in that way. I know how people can take it the wrong way, like man's telling the family what you have to do and whatever. No, it's a couple communicating together. And then the woman says, well, what do you think? I say, well, I think we should do this. And she's going to say, what a good idea. And if it's not a good idea, she says, well, what about this and this and this? And what do you think? And he'll say, yes, it's part of the whole thing of men being the leader is he's carrying the stress.
Yeah.
To make a decision is a source of stress because it could fail or not succeed. So the whole idea of men pursuing women, planning dates, is he plans the date so she doesn't feel the burden of, I have to make sure it's good. See, that feeling I have to raises her male side, not her female side. But there has to be this enormous amount of respect that a woman gets for her to surrender her heart, and the same thing in bed, to respect her body's specific needs before she can be fully orgasmic. So sucking on the nipples there's an art to it, of course, and then a little biting here and there. For different women, they have different preferences and how they like it, but it's a very important organ to be stimulated to produce enough oxytocin so that then she can now get to the clitoris, which is going to produce testosterone. So when you've got testosterone, without that, then you have testosterone without safety, and testosterone without safety doesn't raise estrogen. Think about a woman in danger and a man's going to rescue her. Her estrogen shoots up.
Yeah.
So testosterone is like the danger one. Okay, I got to do this myself. It's up to me.
Yeah.
But she needs to feel really safe. And then when you stimulate testosterone, the clitoris, her estrogen levels can start to come up. But what happens is women and men become super goal oriented. They get on that clitoris, and you can see, in all these instructional videos and alternative sex and books, get in there and you're going to rub this and you're going to rub this and keep going. And then she's intensifying and intensifying. That builds up a spasm and she releases all her sexual energy. Okay. Potency is gone. Okay. And then she has to rebuild it over the next week. Okay. You don't want to cause that climax to happen. What you want to do is never try to speed up the process, but stay in the moment. Oh, new age term, be in the moment and just not try to make it better, not try to intensify it because it already feels so good. See, even the idea of, and a lot of the books on sex and whatever, it's like you should practice breathing together. Okay, breathing is a big tantric thing. Again, my thing is you don't practice breathing together. You just don't do all the high stimulation until you're automatically breathing. Okay, what you'll know, the whole idea of breath is that breath, when you're aroused, takes over you. You don't try to breathe. You want to allow your body to breathe itself. That's one of the first stages of arousal. Kissing can start it. You can kiss, and then you start moving the body together. But be mindful of, my body is breathing itself. See, that's the whole idea, is effortless breathing. That's arousal. Notice when you're aroused, you have this breathing. Now notice your breathing, and slow that. What keep, particularly men, because men heat up too fast. And if you heat up more than the woman, what happens is it slows down her ability to heat up. So when men are in a hurry, it keeps women from being in a hurry, so to speak. It's caused her to slow down. And if you have the experience of ejaculating before a woman has an orgasm, then that really throws the whole relationship out of balance of sexuality, because she wasn't satisfied. You know, if you ejaculate and then give a woman a climax, maybe give her head or touch her or whatever, you're not in there with her. See, your juice is gone. So you want to conserve that juice, and you want to practice sometimes not ever releasing. You know, just, you don't have to do it every time. You know, a lot of my students will do, okay, I don't want to give up ejaculation completely. I said, okay, we'll just try doing it, ejaculating once a week. Now we can come back to some research on that, which is if you ejaculate once a week, on the 7th day, 6 days of abstinence, your testosterone level goes up 50%. If you have sex twice that week, or ejaculate twice that week, or did porn more than once a week, on the 7th day, your testosterone is at baseline. So, you know, if you want to have this really juicy feeling you had when your dopamine levels were high, you have to abstain at least from ejaculating for 6 days. And that's a young man, but you have to have sex. Okay, so the key is you need to have sex every week. And for couples, as they get older, they get out of the rhythm. And so they should just get in bed and cuddle with each other, kiss with each other, say nice things to each other. And here's the ultimate biohack to raise a woman's estrogen. Every person has insecurities. Okay, we're constantly, as men, you know, we're comparing ourselves with others. What man doesn't? You know, he could do that, but I could do this. You know, one time I was having breakfast at one of these biohacking conferences. I promised myself I wasn't going to tell this story, but I'm going to tell it anyway because it's so funny. But there were these 3 major biohackers for muscles. You know, they were endurance runners, and they're great men. But what I know is when you're really the masters of it, you're impotent. You use all your testosterone levels to get used up maintaining your muscle mass. This is one of the problems of overtraining. And this is why the first thing I learned about being men was I was reading muscle magazines back before there was the internet, you know, and they always had libido. I go, why does any guy need, I was 25, 30 years old. Why do you need a libido pill? You know, it's just but because when you have a lot of muscle mass, you can easily overtrain, build big muscles, and there's no testosterone left. And I've seen that with tests and so forth with my clients who couldn't get it up. Ironically, they can get it up with pornography. They can get it up with a new and different woman. That's something we men have to understand about this, is that anytime sex is new and different, it produces a lot of dopamine. So now you're depending on dopamine in order for your testosterone levels to go up. But your wife is never new and different. So your penis stops going up there. And this is because you're addicted to the high dopamine as opposed to having normal dopamine. And normal dopamine levels means you can still be turned on to your wife. But even normal dopamine levels won't do it unless you have polarity. Polarity is where she's more feminine and I'm more masculine. So you got to come back to, you know, my wife could be a completely masculine.
Yeah.
I don't want to work for her. She's a good boss. Okay. But she has that side of her. She goes to her male side. She comes to our relationship and goes to her female side. And even that lecture we're talking about where he was honoring his wife, being a mother is one of the most magnificent things there is if she has a man to support her. Because being a mother allows a woman to be on both her male and female sides. I mean, you're the CEO of the house. You're totally, there's, as a mother, you have to do a lot for your kids. And remember, anytime you have to do something, you're making testosterone. And so a woman who is raising her children by herself, she's a man. Okay. She's running those kids. But a woman who has a man who provides for her respect, empathy, understanding, caring, help, financial support, if that's the situation, what happens, that builds up her estrogen. So then giving to her children makes the testosterone. And so she's in this exalted place when she has support. That's why traditionally the wisdom was, men, you do everything for the woman so she can give birth to these kids and everything works. But now we have this new appealing thing, which is be on your male and female side. Women going to their male side makes men to a certain extent impotent. This is, look at that one. You're married to a highly successful woman. It's going to knock your testosterone down, period. Okay. Just that's fact. Now you can do things to compensate for that without a doubt. You can be a very super successful man and have a woman who is not, and she can knock you down too. Okay. So relationships have a huge impact. Look at these guys, these multi-billionaires who all get divorced. You think they're having good sex with their wives? No way. They don't know what to do in their relationships. It's almost like the things that make you successful in the workplace hinder your ability to have a successful relationship. You got to find that balance. It was challenging for me. I became super successful with my books, and then my wife's complaining, you're working too much, you're traveling too much. And I'm saying, but look, I can make this much money and I can do this. And she says, honey, you promised me you'd share parenting with me. And I did promise that. So I'm so glad I made that promise. So I was like an equal parent. But when a woman is more on her male side, she doesn't need her man as much. When a woman needs you and you feel like I have a job, it's like you're a fireman. If there's a fire, your testosterone shoots up. You've got a role. What am I doing here? I have this scene of this policeman who took one of my courses, and he was talking about when he lights up. I think he called it lighting up. He said, the thrill is gone. It used to be, he'd be down in the ditch and he'd see a car rushing by, and he'd go, "Oh, time to give a ticket." His testosterone shoot up. He was like, "All right, got a job to do. I'm the policeman." We have to have our job to do, and it's not clear to us as men or to women what our job is.
Yeah.
So that's part of the information that we're talking about now, which will be beyond Mars and Venus, beyond the traditional roles. We don't have those traditional roles to support us as much. And I'm not saying every woman needs to be like that man's wife. Okay. That's fine. But I personally think ideally, when you have young children, you should be like that man's wife. Okay. Women should not have to be working while they're raising babies. Okay.
You're irreplaceable.
Tell me more.
You're irreplaceable there. I think if you look at Harrison Butker, a lot of the comments in the social media are like, oh, well, the irony is his mum was super, super successful. And what if you've got the fact that he appreciates that so much in his wife now because he didn't receive that as a child?
Oh, it's very interesting. I didn't know that. Yeah. Oh, I just see my daughter Lauren, because she has a husband who she has a situation where he needs to be there more, and I'm also helping to support them. So she has the support she needs. I'm just looking at the heavenly experience that this child is getting. A mother who feels taken care of, a father who has the time to be there to help her, and the basic things of survival taken care of. My gosh, there's just so much love. This child is never unhappy. Everybody says, how do you have such a happy child and such a peaceful child? And it's because, and I sit with my daughter, and we can just sit with a child. She's just 12 months right now, or 14 months. She's standing up at the window and she's watching the cars go by and the ocean is out there. And for an hour, she's just doing this and looking around, and we're having a conversation with each other, just being. It's some kind of heavenly experience where a woman can find where she feels so supported, but she also is caring for this child, and she cares so much. I mean, she's got everything taken care of. I now, watching my daughter parent this child, I have massively more respect. Even for my wife, I go, I didn't realize you did all this stuff. It was amazing. It's just what they do.
Isn't that the secret, isn't it? Rather than throwing shame around everybody on social media, why have you got your body like that? Why have you not got back to work? Wouldn't it just be so great if our natural byproduct was just to honor and appreciate. There's a wonderful image in one of the books that you've co-authored, The Boy Crisis, that talks about it. Really painted a picture for me. It says if one of the sexes is suffering, then both of the sexes will be suffering.
Yes, yes.
It's this idea that a bird with one broken wing still is not going to take flight.
Right.
And I think, honor is such a wonderful word, and empathy as well as another one where we can really use some of this framework and understanding of polarity to really serve and be in service of each other, to lift each other up. I
Well, let me say what you
uh,
said is so brilliant, and I pick up on a few things that can be misleading.
mm,
Empathy, for example. Women need empathy. Think of when you empathize with someone, their estrogen goes up. If I have low testosterone, the last thing I need is more estrogen.
mm,
Estrogen has the effect like a seesaw. When it goes up, it tends to push the testosterone down.
mm,
Okay. Now, it we all need empathy without a doubt. But when women empathize with what men are going through, it's because men are sharing what they're going through. And that tends to, if her estrogen isn't very high, she will tend to go into her nurturing mother testosterone side. Anytime a woman goes into her testosterone side to the part and a man loves her, he will go to his estrogen side. This is polarity. There's a
reinforces the
switch.
polarity. Mm,
And we're the ones who we desperately want to connect with the female. That's our male, that's our drive. We want to connect with her. And if
mm,
she's on her male side, that tendency to want to connect with her pushes us to our female side. And every man knows that experience. You've worked hard, you come home and you feel really tired. When you were dating her, you didn't. It just, it's because she is going into being like a mother, taking care of you to various degrees. And when women do that, unless you have strong testosterone, you will go right over to your female side. And I go to my female side sometimes when I notice I'm tired, when I come home and I find myself feeling more tired. We have these hacks that make sure that doesn't happen. And I still get my time to watch TV. I watch the news, I watch blogs and everything. Uh, and that's a good cave time activity to me.
mm,
That's relaxing, but also using your mind, challenging yourself. And it could be hobbies, it could be exercise. This is how we rebuild our testosterone. I don't go right into intimacy with my wife. I
yeah.
need my time to come back to me. But one of our hacks is here's one you can teach your wife. You tell your wife, you should do this, honey. If a man approaches her, it's really good, but I explain to women how to get a man to do this, but say, look, honey, you do so much all the time. And I just want to make sure you know how much I love you. And I read in a book, don't come up with this because is that it an analysis of romantic feelings is whenever a man does something for a woman that she can do for herself and she doesn't have to. And just think about that. This is all romantic throughout history. And all romantic throughout history are things that try to pump women's estrogen up. There's not stupid people in the past. So whenever I open the car door, well, you can do that for yourself, but I open the car door for you. You take her to a restaurant where somebody cooks. She can cook for herself, but
Mm,
somebody's cooking for her. So whenever you provide something for a woman that she can do for herself, but she doesn't have to because you're doing it for her, she now gets to stop this automatic place where women go to their male side, which is I have to do this, I have to do this, they just can't turn off I have to. We as men know how to turn off I have to.
mm,
Okay. And not if you're on your female side, man, you can't. You're still have to, but you have to learn how to take a break from all the things you have to do things that you have to do in order to feel good. Okay. And that is still up to you. You're not depending on someone to make you feel good. Addictions is when you depend on something outside yourself to feel good. And I'm not saying you can't depend on things outside yourself. Have a good beer, you know, smoke a weed, whatever you want to do. But make sure that's a minor part of what makes you feel good.
mm,
Is that setting goals, achieving goals, following through, doing what you said you would do. This is what makes us feel masculine. This is what gives us power. Next level of power is then when we can provide something of meaning to our
mm.
partner that makes them feel happy. Okay, so we have to feel. Now, one of the traps we get into as men, if my wife's not happy, I take it personally. Because
Right.
when she is happy, we take it personally. That's a good thing. My wife's happy. I'm a good husband. Oh, I did a good job. Whenever a woman's happy, we feel great. Oh, of course. But when she's not happy, we take that personally and we forget that's not our job is not to make her happy. Our job is to make her happier. Her
Mm,
job is to be happy. So this is one concept kind of helps detach
Yeah.
from taking everything personally. And my example I did for myself for a while, and it's helpful, is think about you're a workman and you work in somebody's house and you're the plumber, and you come to the house and the wife is complaining about the painter. And you can go, yeah, that painter, he's a bad painter. I'm a good plumber. So you just have to sort of have some way to realize when she's not happy, don't take it personally.
Yeah.
But also, and it is a bummer because we are taking it somewhat personally. It's hard to like free yourself totally from that. But
Yeah.
then here's the next thing allows you to take the next step of freedom from taking it personally is I know just what to do that will help her find her happiness. I can't make her happy, but I know just what to do. Anytime you say to yourself, I know just what to do, your testosterone goes up. Anytime you feel she's nothing I can do here, I tried this, and your testosterone goes down. So I know just what to do that will help her find her happiness, and I can't rush it. Just like when making love to my wife, I
Yeah.
can't rush it. I'm going to give it lots of time, and I'm going to be her hero because I'm not going to get mad at her for being unhappy. So I can control that. Okay. I'm not going to get mad, but I'm not going to try to make her happy because whatever I do will fail. I already know it. When a woman's unhappy, anything you do to try to make her happy, you'll fail. So why would I do something to fail? Because then my testosterone will drop and I'll be frustrated and angry. So I'm not going to do anything to try to make her happy, but I'm going to help her find her own happiness. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to encourage her to talk about what's going on. And I'm going to listen, and I'm not going to solve anything. I'm not going to try to tell her not to be upset. I'm not going to agree with her, but I'm not going to verbally disagree with her. I'm just going to ask questions. I'm going to say less. I'm a master and I'm powerful because I don't have to. That's not my job. That's a painter. That's not my job. And I'm not going to say stuff. If I find myself getting irritated, it's because I'm getting attached to making her happy, not trusting
Right.
that if women cannot be made wrong for being unhappy, they will become happy. I have to
Yeah.
say it again. If you don't make a woman wrong for complaining, for unhappy, she'll become happy and her complaints will become much less. Anything, if she's complaining, like, why didn't you pick that up? And you explain, well, I was doing this and doing this. That's just going to make it worse. And you think, aren't we dealing with a logical person here? I give you a logical explanation and you're going to feel better. No, because your logical explanation is telling her that I can't be upset with you. And I'm upset with you right now. And what you have to know is most of the time when women are upset with you, they're having to find their sanity because they don't know why they're upset and they can blame you. So their brain actually starts looking at things to complain about. Just duck and dodge, be a martial artist, don't let it hit you and you'll be a superstar. I mean, they will feel so guilty afterwards complaining to you about stuff without you getting angry and saying, well, let me think about that. Okay. Tell me more. Help me
Well,
understand that better.
I wish I'd had these conversations with you when I was in my teens and 20s. My wife and I have been together since we were 15, so we've been together over 20 years, and we have had to learn how to embed the degree of healthy polarity. I grew up in a fatherlessness state with single parent family. Mum used to work 2 or 3 jobs, ever positive, optimistic, never complained. My wife grew up effectively single child. Dad did everything for her. So her model of love was husband will do things for me, right? My model of love was, oh, I can encourage you, I can empower you, and I can make you believe that you can do anything. So when you've just said a minute ago, like, yeah, just the things that she could do herself, but do them, I did not do those. Yes, I'd hold the door open and stuff like that. But if there was other things that she could do that was just as easy for her to do, I would I would be more
Of course.
encouraging. And it was just like, oh man, like I got it so wrong. I got it so wrong. So isn't it's only inevitable that she perceived that as unloving, and so we've had to learn. Well, I've had to take the lead on some of this stuff, and for me, I've had to learn what it means to be masculine in a healthy way because I didn't have it role modeled. Didn't have it role modeled, and I think there's so much of that outlined within the book, The Boy Crisis, right? The impact of fatherlessness. And I wonder if you could just for the last few minutes that I've got you, just speak into what is this boy crisis that we're going through, and what is some of the most, because there'll be a number of dads that are listening to this specifically, and what is it specifically about the role of dad that can just make such a generational difference?
Let me put that on hold and just finish the other point.
Please.
So what you can do is say to your wife, honey, what I want to do is do something every day, a little thing for you that you would normally do, and I'm going to do it for you. And I'm going to enthusiastically respond whenever you put your hand up with 5 fingers. That means you're going to make a request of something you could do for yourself within 5 minutes. And I'm going to do it with you. I just want you to have the feeling there's always an open door where you don't have to do everything.
Yeah.
Because often you're so exhausted. And what I've learned is that little things make a big difference when it comes to hormones. And that's one of the Mars Venus ideas, which is that every act of love, big or small, has the same effect on estrogen. So you can give her 50 roses, a surge of estrogen, 1 rose, a surge of estrogen. Now she can do this and ask for 5 minutes, and you're going to get the same as if you did something for 2 hours for her. And every day it's a 5-minute thing. Also giving her lots of reassurance. It's reassurance that she can speak up and be heard. Very, very important for women, just like we need reassurance that we can make our wives happy. And so back to the question you asked, and those ideas and more are in my book, Beyond Mars and Venus. So I just want men to have access to that. It's filled with great information on this stuff. Now, Boy Crisis really points out what's happening in the absence of fathers. What boys need, imagine, first, girls need it too. It's not just a boy crisis. The fact that so many women are not even interested in having children, not wanting to have family, that's all due to the same crisis of the father who's absent and the mother who can't depend on a man. See, the key here is that I need to see my mother happy with my father. Otherwise, when I grow up and a woman is unhappy, I feel like, oh, then I'll never be able to make her happy, as opposed to, yeah, mom's not happy all the time, but look, she really looks to dad as a great guy and she can depend on him. So I get to see that I don't have to be perfect, but I can still be loved. And dad is the one who provides that. Dad also provides, when we're really young, a lot of contact sports, okay? Fooling around, sometimes getting bumped and so forth, encouraging all that rough and tumble play. Moms don't understand that boys need that. We need to hurt each other by mistake, because then we can apologize and we can become aware that I can hurt somebody and I don't want to hurt somebody, but we keep it all in a safe zone. My favorite example from the book is one time my wife, I saw she was overwhelmed. I said, look, honey, on Mondays, I have a flexible schedule. You can take the whole day off. I'll just take care of the kids. And she said, great, great. And then Monday comes along and I said, okay, go have a good day. And she says, what are you going to do? I said, well, I'm
Doesn't matter.
not going to tell you.
Yeah.
She was like, no, you got to tell me. You got to tell me. And I'm like, what? You don't think I can take care of my kids? Just tell me. I said, okay, I'll tell you. We're gonna go to Stinson Beach. It's a beach about 35 miles away, and 35 minutes away. And she said, oh, well, that's a good idea. Now, did you pack a jacket for the kids? I said, no. She goes, that's why you have to ask me. I said, no, honey, that's not why I have to ask you, because they need to see dad takes them. Dad makes a mistake. They're cold. Dad will solve the problem. Dad doesn't freak out. Dad doesn't worry. Dad solves a problem. Life is filled with problems. And I don't always think in advance like a woman does. And that's okay. And they need to
figure it out.
That. They figure it out. You solve the problem. and that's a great metaphor for women to understand. Yes, you're about protecting things in the future, but men are about when things happen, how do you deal with it? And that's where children need to see dad cool, calm, and collected. I got it handled. We'll solve it. We'll have a good time. We'll make a joke out of it. We'll tell everybody, oh, we flew, humility. They learn all these qualities by being engaged with the father. What I learned as a father is that by taking that, after that trip, I was more engaged with my children, because I was, to a certain extent, handing them off to my wife. She would handle it. So he needs to feel I'm fully in charge in order to bond with those kids, and then they can bond with their father. Otherwise, they only bond with the father through the mother, which I think is, to a certain extent, very appropriate in the younger years. But as the boy grows, and I want to mention that this whole confusion around identity right now for boys, boys don't know that they're male until puberty. Puberty, a boy's testosterone increases 10 times. That's when he starts to feel like masculine. Before that, he has the same hormones as a little girl. So which is more fashionable for him to relate to, if mom wants him to be more like a little girl, he's going to be more like a little girl. See, I totally related to this because I was the fifth boy. And my mother wanted a girl, and so I come out. And so naturally, I'm going to bond with mom more. She also, she really wanted this. So as a child, you feel what your parent wants. So you just instantly go that way. And then my mother had the great wisdom when I hit puberty. She got me all these jobs. I was doing martial arts. I had a paper route. I worked in in a Jack in the Box, making hamburgers, being entrepreneur. She really encouraged me being with other men who were in charge of me, mentors and so forth, which developed my masculinity. And then I went on to become a monk, which with a mentor, famous guru, the Maharishi of the TM movement. I became his personal assistant. And I needed that because my female side was so strong. And so when you're very spiritual, that's also your female side coming forth. And I needed the discipline of being celibate. Oh my God, there's nothing more powerful to knock up your testosterone than celibacy and spiritual practice. Wow. Fasting for the man who doesn't have spiritual practice, big testosterone producer. I just did 5 days fast. You build up from 1 day to 2 day. But any type thing where you have to follow through, and it's not easy, when you do things that aren't easy, but they're rewarding. The fact is I felt fantastic after the 3rd day. That's the reward. So men put effort, but there has to be the reward too. And that builds your testosterone.
I've got one final question from an audience member before I let you go. And it's from a friend of ours called Katerina. And Katerina, she's got 2 young boys. And she's very passionate about creating the right environment for her boys to thrive. And she's just asked this question: What does the world need right now from men?
What does the world need from men?
Yeah.
Men need to feel needed. And the primary need for every man throughout history has been to protect and serve a woman. That's our primary need. We work hard to be worthy of a woman's love. We develop our skills, we develop our muscles, our hunting skills, our intelligence skills. Primarily, as we're in that growth stage, it's I can be my best potential, find myself and my potential. But the purpose beyond that is to be of service to others, and service particularly to a woman who will give birth to children, who will have a family. And when you follow that route, you produce all these amazing hormones that reward you. And so we can see that what she can know, she's raising these boys. I have a book called Mars and Venus Starting Over. Does she have a husband at home? Oh, she does have a husband. But let me address the single woman, because they're out there too. What can you do for your boys? The first thing you can do for your boys, if you're single, is find a man and come home with messages that show that a man is helping to make you happy. So the boy doesn't feel the burden of I'm responsible for my mother's happiness. Because when you don't have a man and you have children, there's a need that you have to have help. And if you're not getting that help, the child will feel I have to do it. And that puts too big of a burden on a boy. It creates a feeling of inadequacy, of unwillingness to take risks, oversensitivity. Things hurt his feelings easier, and he has to learn to toughen up. But if he has to take care of his mother, it's a different kind of burden on him rather than his normal developmental stages. So something you could do for your boys is go dating a man. You don't have to introduce the man to them. They should just know. And they energetically, they feel something is being taken care of in mom that I don't have to do.
Yeah.
And that's where you have a romantic relationship with a man. It has an effect on your hormones, and it affects the children's hormones too.
John, super grateful for you, super grateful for your work. Like, I've been blessed by your conversation, our conversation, and I know that the listeners will be too. I will put all the links to your incredible body of work in the show notes. Is there anything that you're particularly passionate about that you'd love to draw our attentions, the attention of our audience to? Any upcoming projects? Anything that you're really hoping to spread the message on?
Well, I've for 25 years, I've promoted a particular mineral that will help balance hormones. And since that's my main focus, I used to have a store with 40 different supplements. Now I just have this one. It's the one that most people don't know about. If you have any mood swings, okay, now women have more mood swings than men generally, but anybody who goes up and down, even moderately, and you like to have more balance, the mineral is lithium. It's a mood stabilizer, and it has to be bonded to a substance in mother's milk called uric acid. And uric acid also affects the genome and helps awaken the balance of hormones inside of us. Because once we go the wrong way, let's say you're a man, you go way to your female side for a long time, your genome starts to behave like you are female. And it can't self-correct itself if you start doing masculine things. If you start doing masculine things, the genome is going to resist that unless it gets this substance that's in mother's milk called uric acid, and it helps the genome to repair the imbalances. Because we can change our genome by the way the environment treats us. We already know that. That's called epigenetics. Circumstances activate certain things. And if you want to come back to your natural balance as a male or female, this auric acid goes into there, and the lithium helps stabilize the mood so your body can easily put these things into practice and balance the hormones. Whenever you're in a good mood, generally your hormones are balanced. And that's what we want as men and women, to have the healthy balance. And for people who are confused about their identity, you start feeling like a real man when you do things that really men do. And you start feeling like a real woman when you start having orgasms. Your estrogen goes really high, and you start realizing my body can make a baby. And then suddenly things start to change. But if you can't get to that level, you don't even know. You're asleep to the part of you which is feminine. Men are asleep sometimes to the part of them which is strong, powerful, confident, and masculine. And one of our biggest obstacles to that is any addiction. Addictions is our female side. That's depending on a substance or something outside of ourselves to feel good. And porn, of course, is one of the worst. So as far as it goes to testosterone, forget about it. And then next thing is get in a committed relationship. Don't stray. That's discipline, but also biology helps you. When you make love to a woman who loves you and you love them, your body makes a hormone called prolactin. Only then. If you do it with yourself or with some stranger, whatever, you don't make prolactin. And prolactin is the antidote against any addiction, as long as you use your willpower with it, of course. But it's there. It designs a man to stay committed to his partner. So you need to make love in a way that gives a woman what she needs. Then your body will produce prolactin. You'll always be turned on to your partner, but you lose the ability to be turned on to anybody else. Oh. It's powerful. It's biology.
Powerful, powerful. Dr. John, bless you, brother. Thank you so much for your time.
Oh, you asked about my website. Let me just say that.
Good. Let's do that
real quickly. We have a free class on gender differences and understanding that at marsvenus.com.
Yes.
If you want to come to California, and one of the most beautiful places by Mount Tam, near in the Bay Area, I do the first weekend, that's the second, third, and fourth, doing a relationship workshop for couples, singles. It's for everybody, and it's in depth. I invite people to come to that. You can check it out at my website, marsvenus.com. I suggest for men to brush up their sexual skills, because we might have known them, but we forget them. I have a class on great sex for couples to watch together or just to watch alone. It's really funny. It's very fun. And then I have a course which is for women only, which is if you can get your girlfriend or your wife to watch that, watch it with her, and it will change your life.
Oh, powerful. All the links will be in the show notes. Dr. John, bless you, brother. Thank you so much for joining us again, and we appreciate you.
Thank you so much.
Hey, my friends, thank you for making it to the end. I hope that our time spent together today has left you a little bit better than before you push play. I'd really appreciate if you just took a moment to leave a review to allow me to meet more people where they are and hopefully leave them a little bit better too. If you're curious to know how I, through Always Better Than Yesterday, can serve you, your team, your organisation, then head to alwaysbetterthanyesterday.com to connect. And while you're there, let me know one or two things that you're going to do as a result of listening to this conversation. I absolutely love hearing your thoughts, your reflections, and the things that this spark in your own heart and mind. If you want more insights from my heart and mind, I do send out short episodes on a Monday, Tuesday, Thursday and Friday, and again, I hope that they serve you well. I appreciate you listening. I'm Ryan Hartley, host of the Always Better Than Yesterday podcast, a podcast for heart-centered leaders just like you. Keep leading, my friends. Always love.